And now, at your service, here to help you cook and eat like royalty is the barbecue whisperer and hedonism evangelist from AmazingRibs.com, the planet's biggest and baddest barbecue and grilling website, Meathead.
Well, welcome everybody. And we have a nice little group started out there on YouTube and Facebook, and hopefully somebody's out there on the Twitter, on X. I just can't get used to calling it X, you know? You can see that I'm not alone tonight. I am joined by my right-hand man and longtime associate and confidant, the world's leading expert on grills and smokers, Max Good. Max works with us, kicking the tires on grills and smokers. He does 20 or so a year, and he supervises others on our team who test grills and smokers. And if you know anything about us, you know that we are serious about product testing. We do it in a very organized and non-biased fashion. We don't have any sponsors. We don't sell advertising. We have a third party that sells ads. We have no idea who's buying them, and we don't care. In fact, when I log into the website, I don't see ads because I'm a member of the Pitmaster Club, and all members of the Pitmaster Club don't see ads. And we just, know that it's really vital that we not be questioned for bias or prejudice. So we hire people like Max and also Bill McGrath, who's an electrical engineer. He tests thermometers, and Clint and I and others on our team test accessories. And so tonight we thought we would talk to Max every year around this time. Max and our team put together a list of the best new products of the year gone by, of 2023 in this case. And some of them may have come out in 22 or 21, but they were the best ones for us in that we didn't test them until last year. So we call them the best new products of 2023 for us. And many of them are grills and smokers. And there's some really interesting stuff, as Max will explain, but the world is changing rapidly, and look at Max, his eyes are getting big. Grills and smokers, all kinds of really interesting things. We're seeing the introduction of interfacing with smartphones and temperature control, and all kinds of connections to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. High tech in all kinds of corners, and hard to keep up with. And some of it is really cool, and some of it is a pain in the ass. And as Max will explain. And then Max has just returned from 2 road trips. Max went out to the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which
first time this year, Meathead.
Yeah, you've never been before, but I'm jealous because I'm a computer geek and a gadget geek, and you got to go and I didn't. But
you would have loved it.
There was, not this time for the first time, really. They had a fairly substantial exhibit of grills and smokers and cooking tools because so many of them are getting high tech. And then after he got back, barely got a chance to do his laundry, he packed up and headed down to Nashville, where the Hearth, Patio, and Barbecue Association held their annual Expo. And this is an organization that covers a pretty broad field, but a lot of the barbecue people show up for this one also. So I'm talking much more than I should, and it's time to let Max tell you about what's going on out there. I thought, Max, if it's okay with you, we'll start with the 2023 best products, and then you can ramble on and tell us about some of the cool things you saw at the Consumer Electronics Show and the Hearth, Patio, and Barbecue Expo. And you guys, you know the routine. I see a lot of names, familiar names. You can just post your questions, and we'll try to take them as we go. Either if it seems appropriate to interrupt conversation, we'll stick it in. Otherwise, we'll get to it. But we usually get to everybody's questions. We usually hang out for at least an hour. Often it's 90 minutes. And I got a good night's sleep last night, so I can probably make it 90 minutes. And Max, do you want to tell us a little bit about the best products? I'm going to pull up a screen share here, and let's see how this works. Okay, there it is. This is a page from our website that shows the best products of the year. And I will scroll down, and there we go. I'm not sure if everybody sees what I'm seeing. And Max, if you want to tell me to
I see
scroll.
what you're seeing. Okay, we're kicking it off with smokers here. Many of you out there might not be familiar with the Louisiana Grills, this pellet smoker that we really like quite a bit. But you may be familiar with a company that's owned by their previously parent organization, Danson's, which is Pit Boss. Pit Boss is everywhere. It's a great entry level product. But Louisiana Grills, they were actually hot on the heels of Traeger in entering the pellet smoker field early on. And now, with all the consolidation going on around us, they have been acquired by the Bradley Company, which owns Charbroil and Oklahoma Joe's and other brands, which made sense for them because they had no pellet smokers at all. At any rate, and we also picked the Traeger Ironwood and Ironwood XL for specifically because it carries over a lot of features of their very expensive Traeger Timberline, which Meathead has right now. But I mean, getting in on the smaller model, it's about $3,200, and then if you get the big one, it's getting close to $4,000. So we like that Ironwood because it had many of the features of the Timberline. Particularly the Wi-Fi application, the controller. It's very sophisticated, really wonderful to work with. Has some of their other features, such as this rail system that wraps around the grill, and you can add optional products to it, like tool hooks and towel hangers, condiment trays, etc. Getting back to Louisiana, though, one of the things that really stuck out to us about it was most pellet smokers are not very good grills. And a few of them over the past several years have tried to come up with these schemes where they slide away part of the drip tray that goes underneath the grill grate, the cooking grate. If for those of you who aren't familiar with pellet smokers, they typically have a large, solid, rectangular shaped hunk of metal, whether it's flat or curved, underneath the cooking surface that dissipates heat or evens out heat, and also diverts gunk and grease into a bucket off the side. They have these little sections that can slide away that are right over the fire pot where the wood pellets are burning, and that supposedly gives you a sear zone. Many of them don't work well, but this one did. This one worked really well. Part of it was that it got pretty hot to begin with, even when you didn't try to use that slide away section. But because of the power this thing had, it went well over several hundred degrees over the sear section, and they include a griddle with it. So on top of that, you get the benefit of the conductive searing from the griddle.
That's
Getting
pretty
back to the
cool. I
iron,
mean, now
yeah.
you've got a pellet smoker, a grill, and just in case you're not clear on how we differentiate between the two, smokers tend to be convection ovens, just like your indoor oven, warm air circulating around food, and it roasts. And that's the way most pellet smokers work. They're roasting devices. You're not exposing the food to direct infrared glowing coals, flame, and therefore they're not good at searing or grilling. And as Max is explaining, Louisiana grills, and Max, I think the Weber is another one. Are there others that you think of that can do both smoking and grilling?
I'm thinking there probably are cropping up now, but in the past I've tested some of these things that the only Weber is the only one I know that is able to achieve high temperature cooking like it's an excellent grill. And we'll talk about their new models when we get to
Yeah.
when I went to this Consumer Electronics show. But they have an extremely different design. But this Louisiana model performed much better than any of these. Memphis grills. I'm sorry, Memphis grills. They are very high end luxury grills, and they too were just acquired by another larger company. And I'm not sure what's going on with them right now. But early on, they did have a section that you could actually remove that would expose the fire pot, and it would get mighty hot. But we'll save that conversation for
Yeah.
another day with Memphis till the dust settles on them.
I should point out that of the many pellet smokers on the market, and this is a fast growing segment, this is the Louisiana is the only one that won Max's platinum medal in 2023. And that's impressive considering that the next one on the list here is the Traeger Ironwood, which Max reviewed. And the minute he was done with the review, I snatched it away from him, and I have it on my deck right now. And it got a gold medal, and that device is what, $3,500 or something?
Well, now, actually, you have the Timberline, which is the
Oh,
really.
right. I have the Timberline.
This is the next step down, and one of the reasons I like it is it has a lot of the features of the more expensive Timberline, but it runs about $1,800 for the regular size one. They do make a larger XL size as well, and that's pretty typical with many of these different outdoor cookers. They'll have kind of a medium size and then a larger size. Some of them will have smaller portable sizes as well. But yeah, the Traeger was for the money. Traeger is a brand in the pellet sector, like Weber is a brand in the grill and smoker sector. They're iconic. At least they are as of now. Let's who knows what the future brings. So there are many people that are loyal Traeger fans. And when those Timberlines came out, they oohed and awed over them, but they didn't have the money to spend $33,000+ on them. So the Ironwood gives them something within reach for those that view it as an aspirational purchase.
So let's keep going here, Max. We got a lot to cover.
Griddles are next, and that was every year I say this is the year of this is the year of that. A couple of years ago I said it's the year of technology, and that continues today as we were discussing at the outset. But last year really seemed like it was the year of the griddle too. And everybody and their brother just started having griddles. And when I got my hands on that Weber griddle, I found out why. They're just a heck of a lot of fun to cook on. And a nice thing about that Weber griddle that was just introduced is it's pretty affordable. You get Weber quality for $450. They make a larger model. Traeger came out with a griddle too, which was got a lot of press, a lot of notice, and it was great. It cost twice as much, and it had a lot of really cool features to it that the Weber griddle didn't have. The Weber had this Spartan quality, this stripped down quality. I speculated they wanted to keep it at a lower price point. They wanted to that they wanted it to be something that was a bit more affordable, and I predicted that they were going to also be introducing some higher end models, which they rolled out a month or so ago when I was in Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show. And they are, of course, more expensive, but they have more features, and there's more upscale. But griddles. Everyone was griddle crazy. We started pumping out some griddle recipes and really responding to the interest.
I did
They're
a
a load of
griddle
fun.
recipe tonight. I have a griddle which will be in next year's reviews from Pit Boss.
Pit Boss, which is Louisiana. Remember I mentioned
I'm
it.
very impressed with it. It's got a ceramic surface, which is nonstick. But I got to say, even though the ceramic surface nonstick, not withholding, and I read recently somebody else is coming out with one too. They were the only ones, but there's a second one now, and I can't remember who. But for you who are thinking about getting a griddle or a flat top, let me tell you, they are all the rage, and everybody loves them. But they're a pain in the ass. I am not crazy about them. I much prefer a grill or a smoker because they require cleanup. And you when you're done grilling, you can just turn off the flame or put the lid on and stifle the vents. Go inside, sit down, eat your dinner, drink your wine, have a conversation, do Netflix, wake up the next morning. And you really don't have to clean up your grill or your cooker until you fire it up again. And then you can really scrub it down, clean it up, and get it ready for the next cook.
Mm-hmm.
A griddle, when you're done cooking, it has to be cleaned up while it's hot. And if you're using a iron or a steel surface, it's got to be lightly coated with oil to prevent rust. And this is, a lot like what you would do with a cast iron pan. So you're into this maintenance routine. You take these Oklahoma smash burgers. Oh God, they're so good on a griddle.
See, that's the good part.
God, I love them. My wife fell in love with them too. But when you're done, you've got a really mangled, dirty, sticky, greasy griddle, and you can leave it hot and go in and sit down and eat and have conversation and watch Netflix and burn off a tank of gas and then go out and clean up. Or you can clean up while everybody's eating, but you have to get that thing cleaned up. You can't just leave all that grease on there. Otherwise, you'll have vermin crawling around on it. You'll have roaches and ants and mice and stuff. So the cleanup routine, especially for the steel surfaces, is just a bit of a pain. You'll find your own way. People who have them love them. I just dislike the cleanup.
No, well, nobody likes that, and also if you don't take care of them, maybe not for yours, which is that ceramic coating, but most of them will start rusting like you know what, and that is no fun. Then you're starting all over again. Now the new Webers that are more expensive are pre-coated. I couldn't really get a clear answer out of what that meant, but they say they stand by it. They feel that it's works very well. And on the other side too, Meathead, you got to admit, a lot of people, particularly with gas grills, they just don't clean them, and the bottom can get pretty nasty too if you don't clean it. But it's sort of like out of sight, out of mind. But I know what you mean. Yeah, when you're done with a griddle, you pretty much have to do something with it.
Well, you can
And
go
while
check out.
everybody else is eating and drinking, you got that on your mind. Now, on the other hand, there are to mitigate this to some degree, we're seeing more and more of these smart grills. I don't know that it's with a griddle yet, except with the new current system that we'll talk about in a minute as well. That have automatic shutdown, automatic cleanup features. So they'll wait about 15 minutes until there's no activity, and then they will automatically just crank their heat to maximum for 5-10 minutes, whatever, and burn everything up and then shut down. So at least you're there. But there's not a lot of those out yet. But this is the way a lot of backyard cooking is going. Is that people just want ease of use? They want repeatability. They don't want to have to labor over stuff.
Well,
So
I think
that's
everybody wants their outdoor oven, and that's what a grill is. It's just an oven to work like their indoor oven. And I'm seeing, by the way, Max, a bunch of really good questions. But hang in there, guys. We'll come back and answer all your questions. But let's just keep on a roll here and get through this top-rated products first, and then come back and answer, because some of those answers may be coming. Max, you want to jump into the other hot category of the year, and that's the pizza oven?
pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? Hey,
Yeah, America's favorite food.
yeah. And I know, Meathead, you are one of our pizza wizards. The
Yeah.
other Dave Hiracum, who did some of ours, and now we had one from our friend Bridget Binns as well. Who's a wonderful baker and knows quite a bit about it. I'm have to entice her to do some more reviews for us, Meathead. I'm sure I can. But I'll let you talk about the rock box. That a lot of people really like that.
But let me touch on all of them, since I probably have done more pizza oven testing than you.
Yes, you have.
This is really coming on strong. If you go to Amazon and you type in pizza oven, you may find 300-400 options. There's 2 or 3 companies that are leading the field, Uni being one, but everybody is nipping at their heels because it's not a very complicated technology. But it is not an easy thing to get right if you're a cook. Getting the bottom cooked properly and the top cooked properly simultaneously, and I like to use the expression simultaneous pizzagasm, getting the top and bottom done at the same time, is tricky, and it has a lot to do with how much moisture is in your sauce and your cheese and your other toppings, how thick the cheeses are, how thick the crust is. It really requires more craftsmanship and skill as a cook than almost anything else. But these devices really are helping you. And some of the ones that I've seen coming on the market now are doing things like, a lot of them are standard. They're trying to imitate the big downtown pizza ovens. And so some of them burn wood. Let me tell you, if you're thinking about a pizza oven, don't buy the wood burning and the pellet burning units. Now, some of those are both wood burning and pellet burning, and they have propane option. Propane's your best bet. These things are so hot, your pizza is done in less than 3 minutes, often less than 2 minutes. There's not going to be any flavor from the wood. And besides, do you want a pizza that tastes smoky? I don't think it's the right thing. So your propane burners are your best bet. Easier to control temperature. The wood burners, you're constantly fussing with the temperature. You cook a 12-inch pie, you bring it in, you eat it, you go back out to cook another one, and the fire is dead. You want propane. I know it doesn't sound sexy, but you don't want wood burning. The other thing that I think is important is that the stone needs to be able to come out. And that's one of the problems with the Rockbox, which is on the screen here. I liked it, but the Rockbox stone doesn't come out. you need to pull the stone out in order to clean it occasionally. And you can clean it while it's in there and it's locked in, but it's harder to clean. A couple of the others that are coming out now, they work like regular pizza ovens. You slide the pie in, and after a couple of minutes, as the dough firms up, you have to reach in with a peel, that's the big paddle, and rotate it because the edge that is facing the flame can burn. And so you have to keep rotating it. Now, remember, this pie is done in 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the most. So you've got to be there and rotating. A couple of them I've seen now are coming out with motorized stones that rotate on their own. So look for those. These are 3 that got our top ratings.
Well, actually, there is a fourth Meathead. If you scroll down, and it has that exact feature you just mentioned. It has.
There it is, the Blackstone.
Yeah, and Blackstone is ubiquitous as well. That might be a positive thing for our listeners out there now. Is they're going to be easy to find. Of course, people do everything online nowadays, so perhaps that's not as big of a issue. But a nice thing that we liked about this too is these are all what you'd call tabletop units. But this particular one, now you're paying for it too. It's a bit more expensive than some of the other ones, but it has a stand that is convenient, and it comes with a nice pizza peel. But yes, the Blackstone actually pioneered this rotating stone, this spinning stone idea, I believe.
That's
and they
really
also
smart.
a refractive material above the pizza, so that radiates the heat back down onto the topping to get the pizzagasm that we all want. And as Meathead observed, you don't have to spin it around manually. It does have battery backup too. So if you don't have an outlet where you want to make your pizzas, you can run on batteries.
That's cool. Let's keep rolling. I mean, we could probably talk for 10 minutes on each of these devices. And I should tell you, if you're not familiar with Max and our review service, his reviews are really detailed. I mean, they're long. And, if you can stay awake through them, they're not boring, but he gets deep into them. And, if you're shopping, you want this information, and Max is there to provide it for you. And Dave Joachim, who is doing some of our pizza oven reviews, Dave's written 3 books on pizzas.
Oh, yeah.
And Bridget Binns has written books on pizzas. So we use outside reviewers occasionally, and we use expert outside reviewers. These reviews are thorough, detailed, non-biased, and really good. So before you buy, and if you have a neighbor who's getting ready to buy, send them to our website and have them look it up. Max, we jumped down to the Traeger Timberline, which is another pellet smoker. It's down here instead of near the top, because it didn't get the top-rated platinum review, gold. And the software is kind of funny the way it sorts things. But this is a device that Max tested, and I have, and it's pretty darned impressive.
Yes, it certainly is. And as I said in my review, they loaded this thing up with so many features, including the software, the new Wi-Fi. Their Wi-Fi software was, when it first came out, it was some of the best that we'd seen. And this was a nascent thing happening, with these smart grills and these apps on your smartphone. Theirs really just knocked our socks off, and it just keeps getting better and better. But this one got separated a little bit because it's just expensive, as we mentioned earlier on. The mid-size model's about $3,200. The larger one's about $3,900. It had some issues. But all in all, they just overloaded this thing with so many interesting features. And we love the software, as I mentioned, that we just had to succumb and at least give it our gold medal, despite some of the issues that we point out in the review. There, Meathead is showing the induction plate. As we have already talked about, many pellet smokers, they all call them pellet grills, but most of them are best thought of as smokers. And you have to, if you want to do any kind of high temperature searing, you have to do it elsewhere. But this thing had a built-in induction motor, induction plate. I'm sorry, and it got hot as you would want it to get. They also acquired meter wireless thermometers, and this particular model comes with a couple of them along with the price tag. So that's a nice feature as well.
Yeah, it's got all the bells and whistles, and of course you pay for that. But I'm showing you, if you've not seen the detailed review that Max did on it, and that's typical of all of his reviews. I have it. That induction plate. If you've not worked with an induction burner, and I had not until this one, it gets hot in a hurry. And I did some deep frying on it, and it's really cool. It's a really great stovetop, and it's right there attached to your grill, so you can do keep your sauces warm or make sauces, do your veggies, and even do deep frying. Let's keep on moving into the next category that shows up on the list here, and that would be the thermometers. And I have one of these combustion predictive thermometers here at the house, and it is a real breakthrough. It's not cheap. It's up in the $200 range, I think. It's a very small, smaller than a deck of cards, but it comes with a wireless probe. Now, up till now, many thermometers had a probe, but it had a wire that was strung outside the grill and connected to a meter. And often that meter would speak to your phone or to a remote device, which was very cool. This baby is wireless. Now, Max mentioned the Meter, Meater, which is another one that Traeger owns that comes with the
Timberline, yeah.
the Timberline. But this one is unique. That probe has 8 sensors in it, and those 8 sensors, there's a close up of it senses at 8 different locations in the food, so it can identify where the center of the food is, and that's your most crucial point for measurement. And it can also be used as an instant read. It can also be used as a plug in and walk away. You can set it so it'll alarm for you at certain temperatures. It's got all kinds of bells and whistles. It's expensive, but it talks to your phone. It talks to your computer. It's just really state of the art and on the edge, and it's very cool.
Yes, and it also is a predictive thermometer. It gives you a
Yes.
good, reasonable idea of when your food is going to be ready.
Yeah, the predictive aspect of it is pretty good. It tries to tell you. So, all right, I've been cooking my brisket. How long until it's done? And it remembers how things are going, and it calculates, because you have what I call a hockey stick, and I did a graph for it in my next book. Somebody here was asking about when's my next book, what's the progress report. I turn in the manuscript on Friday, and it will be out in about a year, and it's done. Hallelujah. But the hockey stick is, and you've seen it if you cook, things move slow, and then as they approach doneness, they go faster. kind of like sex, it, it gets faster as you come to the end. And this is able to predict in reasonable accuracy when your brisket or your pork butt is going to be done. The next thermometer on this list is the Meter 2. I have not tested the Meter 2. Bill has, and I don't know too much about it, but the Meter 1 was very cool. The Meter 2 is got some multiple sensors and some other features that look pretty cool. And he gave it a gold, and he gave the combustion, which was the one I was just talking about, he gave that his platinum. And then Patio is another one. Patio is another wireless probe that talks to your phone. And then there's the ThermoPro Temp Spike, which is another wireless probe. And you can see all the top rates from Bill this year came from these wireless. That's the direction, which is nice. Because among other things, you can plug that wireless probe into a rotisserie chicken. You could not put a probe with a wire into a rotisserie chicken, but these you can. So they've got all kinds of new features. I'm guessing that you keep an eye on this, and that technology is going to really take some leaps forward in the next year. If you don't mind me continuing to hold the floor.
Oh, no, I don't, because your next one is
the next
something
one, and the next two, actually. The next two are kind of mine. The Spider Grill's Venom. This is a device that attaches to a Weber kettle. And there's just a bunch of thermostat devices that attach to smokers. But this one, you can see here, is a pretty significant module that has a lot of clever tools built into it. It controls the airflow to the charcoal, which then controls the temperature. You've got charcoal and oxygen. You need both to get the temperature you want. And so it controls the airflow to the charcoal and gives you a nice readout. There's a bunch of options there. The only downside is it works only on a Weber kettle, and mounting it to the Weber kettle is a pain in the ass. But it can be done. I got it done. And I give you some tricks on how you might do it. But once mounted, it really works, and it works great. And now there's a battery unit, so it doesn't need to be plugged in. And it's pretty cool, and I highly recommend it. If you're looking for a thermostat controller for your Weber kettle, this is something to give a lot of consideration to. The next item on the list here is also something that I reviewed, and that is Kenji Lopez Alt's new book, The Wok. Kenji is probably many of you are familiar with him. He has been writing for the New York Times lately. He was the lead writer for Serious Eats, which is my favorite cooking website. He is now a science reporter for the food department of the New York Times, announced in a new column last week. His book, The Wok, he is of Asian descent. He knows how to cook on a wok, and it's tremendous. A lot of great stuff. And if you love Asian food, Chinese food, if you love cooking with a wok, you'll find a new chapter in my book on how to cook on a wok on top of a charcoal chimney. Man, the key to a Chinese, if you ever watch the Chinese restaurant, they have these woks on top of these massive flames. They get really hot. And there's a whole series of techniques that I talk about because I've fiddled with them. But if you want that, you can't get that kind of constant heat even on a gas stovetop. But on a charcoal chimney, you can. And so I talk about that in my new book. Kenji doesn't touch about it in here, but his recipes and his techniques are impeccable. It's a great book if you love Chinese cooking. And then reach out to me for tips on cooking on a charcoal chimney, or watch for my new book when it comes out. And Max, I'll turn it back over to you. The next item on the list here, the next two items are yours. They're the Ninja wood fire and the Fina Mill battery-operated pepper and spice grinder.
Yes, so the Ninja wood fire, I think many people know of Ninja. They make so many different products for cooking in the kitchen. And their tabletop multifunction ovens, toasters, all-in-one type units are very, very, very popular, and they're everywhere you go. So they're easy to get. This was a new thing for them. The wood fire outdoor oven. That's the first thing that I know of that they made for outdoor use. And one of the things that differentiates it from their other multifunction devices is that it will burn wood pellets for smoke flavor. Now, it is a nice unit. It's made very well. It does an awful lot of different things, just like many of these multifunction tabletops will do. And it truly does burn wood pellets for smoke. In fact, it generated a great deal of smoke. That picture right there shows where the pellets go. However, the end results were a bit disappointing, to say the least. You look at that. Look at that. That looks great, right? Those are ribs, and this was only halfway through. Now, I was using their recommended recipes in that I was using the cooking times and what have you. There was right when you were supposed to take it off, and I went, wow, these just look fantastic. These look really great. But look at that. When you bring them in and cut them, dry, bland. I mean, there was a visual aspect to it that I thought we can't get around it. When you look at something and if it looks good, you start to salivate a little bit. It is a positive thing for the whole eating experience. But oh my God, this would talk about being cosmetic entirely. That was pretty much it. It looked good. It really didn't taste that great at all. I felt like it would have been a good idea to minimally to have wrapped them in aluminum foil halfway through to at least retain some moisture. But all in all, I still gave it a gold because it was at the time the only thing quite like that out there. There are many multifunction tabletops. This is the only one I knew of that was actually trying to be a smoker.
I can see taking this to a tailgater or to the beach or something like that. Even
Well,
though
it needs electricity,
perfect.
though. It needs electricity. You got to plug it in.
You get it. You get something that hooks up to your car.
Well, yeah. True.
What do they call that? An inverter?
Whatever clicks your clock, I guess. But I think it is. I view it as more of a residential thing. I think if you're going to a tailgater, you already know what you're going to make. You're going to make burgers or whatever, And then the Fina Mill, I just want to say quickly, it is outstanding. It's a one-hand operation. You see in that picture, there's these pods that contain the unground spices, and you can switch from one to the other. So you can have one hand to flip meats over. That's your meat hand, and the other hand is just for you pop these pods in and out. You just press down on it, and the one that you got is released. Then you press down on the next one you want, and it engages, and you just keep grinding away. So you can have this.
I was going to just insert. This is not just for pepper grinding, which a lot of people think. If you like to cook and you love spices, and the best thing you can do is buy whole seeds and grind them when you need them. Then they don't oxidize. So getting mustard seeds and other seeds,
Cardamom.
cardamom.
Yeah.
Oh, I love cardamom. And grinding them as you need, you're going to get a lot more flavor from fresh ground seeds, like you would from fresh ground pepper. So you can use. That's why you want multiple pods. You want one for pepper and one for everything. You're going to end up with 20 pods if you're me.
Well, you don't have to have that many because you can load them up, for specific
Yeah.
recipes, obviously.
Are they
But it
dishwasher safe, Max? Can I throw those pods in the dishwasher?
Oh goodness, you know what? I can't intelligently answer that off the top of my head.
You
I'll have to double check to see if that is possible.
well,
It would, it would
that's
seem to
important.
me that it can be done.
Max, before we move on to hearing your report from the Consumer Electronics Show and the National Barbecue Association Show, let me scroll through the listener questions because
Yes.
there's a bunch of them, and let's see if we can handle with some of those. I'm moving down here. Thank you, folks who are chiming in that everything's working. Mark Nagy is asking how my book is doing. And thank you, Mark. Yeah, those of you who've been following this, this has been a multi-year project. I tell you, I don't think I'm going to be doing any more books. It's just such a damn.
That's what you said last time.
Yeah, right. I did. I told you. I authorized you, Max. I said if I'm doing another book, shoot me. How come you haven't shot me yet?
It's so hard to get a gun these days.
It is done. I actually wrote enough for 2 books, and the publisher came back and said, no, this is a 1-book project. So a lot of stuff hit the cutting room floor, and maybe it'll turn into another book. Oh, God forbid. But it's a good book. There's a lot of good new information. Among it, things like cooking on a charcoal chimney with a wok and stuff. Fun stuff using koji. A lot of cutting edge stuff. But unfortunately, the whole process of editing and layout and design, I did all the photography myself. There's over 300 photographs, and I really amped up the photography skills. They're pretty good. So, okay, let's see. Scrolling down, Dan Mancuso, from a feature standpoint, how does the ironwood compare with the timberline, Max?
Oh, well, I mean, it's not as loaded with features. For one thing, it doesn't have the induction plate. It's a bit smaller. It doesn't have all the stainless steel that Timberline has. It doesn't have the enclosed cart. It does not have all of the bamboo shelves and cutting
Which
board.
suck, by the way. Those
Yeah,
bamboo
which
shells,
something
those bamboo
we
shells got
discovered was a
moldy.
problem.
Yeah.
We did discover. As Meathead has said, he wanted to get the Timberline when I was done with it, so I was happy to give it to him. But when I gave it to him, the bamboo shelves were fine, but within a short period of time, they became just blackened with mildew, and I discovered that bamboo does have a tendency to do that, and I recommended to Traeger that they consider doing a synthetic material instead. I mean, you can make it look like, these days the synthetic stuff looks however you want it. You could make it look like bamboo if you wanted. It just seemed
I threw them out within a few weeks after getting them. They were just disgusting.
Kind of nasty. You sent me photos of it. I included it in the review.
But
app.
The big unit comes with the wireless thermometer probes.
The ironwood will take them, but you have to buy them. They're options.
They're separate. So it's a feature list and a price difference too. Gary Hammond says, I didn't find the cleanup for my cast iron flat top too bad. I've honed it down to about a minute or two. That's good, Gary, because when I do an Oklahoma smash burger, I want to serve it hot. I don't want to send it into the dining room and stand there. And oh, by the way, one of the things that nobody talks about, I found really useful, squeegee. I got a windshield squeegee, like the guys who come up to your car in New York. I got a windshield squeegee
Good idea.
and a squeeze bottle, and squirt that water down on there, and of course it immediately steams, breaks down the stuck-on stuff, and a squeegee is really handy for sweeping it into the bucket. But it still requires, do while it's still hot. And you got to do it while it's hot. If you turn it off, then you're going to come back out there later in the evening or the next day to find solidified fat and other garbage on there. Steve Licuri, griddle cleanup about 5 minutes. Okay, so Steve, you need to talk to Gary because he's getting it done in a minute or two, and you're taking 5 minutes. I just think that's too long. I want to bring the food in. I want to stand there at the head of the table and bask in the glory as people cut into the food and tell me, oh, how wonderful it is. And I want to eat and drink and then go Netflix and chill. And I don't want to have to worry about doing a cleanup. And that's just a hang up of mine, I guess. A lot of people love and I've got a beauty out there. That pit boss is a beauty. And being an animal, it's an easy cleanup. Gary Hammond, I've made pizza on my Camp Chef Woodwind. And I love the slightly smoky flavor. At 400, there is not a whole lot of smoke. Okay. You can do pizzas on a gas grill. There you go, Jim Morgan. I put my pizza stone on the grill. I've used both gas and the Weber kettle. Works well. And in fact, I've written articles on this on the website. On a Weber kettle, by the way, I like to put bricks under the stone and raise it up closer to the dome. It cooks the dome better, or the top better. Mark Nagy,
Dan Mancuso asks about the char grill or gravity smoker and whether I've heard about new gravity smokers. Dan, I got to say, I'm sure they're coming. I just saw a new one from Masterbuilt at the Consumer Electronics Show. Something I maybe I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to tell you. Something funny is going on with that whole group over there. We've had some very difficult problems communicating with Masterbuilt and Kamado Joe and what have you. That's owned by the parent company Middleby. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, it's short-lived. I have a lot of respect for these brands, so I hope we're going to get back to normal operation very soon. But
I should point out that a lot of your communications with these guys is incognito, isn't it, Max?
Well, I mean, I like to think that I have a good communication with. I want to have good communication with all brands, and usually we do. Occasionally we do not. Occasionally, I get the feelings that there's some difficulties over there, but I better leave it at that.
Okay.
Because they were very communicative up until just a few months ago, really. But they were at the Consumer Electronics Show. At least Masterbuilt and Kamado Joe were. Some of the other brands were not represented.
Hey, look what I just figured out how to do. I can put a reader comment right on the screen here. Isn't that cool technology? Mark Nagy, try a porterhouse in a wood-fired pizza oven. Yeah, these pizza ovens, they get really hot. I mean, that stone can get 700 degrees or so. And the key about these pizza ovens, if you've ever looked at a real downtown pizza oven, you throw the logs in or the coals in, the flames go up over this round dome. So essentially it's a broiler. You've got hot flame up above, and then the food is sitting on this hot stone. So it's cooking simultaneously from top and bottom. and he's talking about a porterhouse on a wood fire. So you can cook a porterhouse steak on both sides simultaneously. And you can also throw things like cast iron pans in there. These pizza ovens are very versatile, fun cooking tools, and they get really scorching hot. So, Mark, thank you very much for adding that to the conversation. Look, I can do this. I can add people's comments. Love all the technology, but it's never the arrow. It's always the Indian. I'm not sure what you mean, but I think I do. And then Gary says, I often refire the griddle after eating and clean. Yeah, that's the thing. You can go back out there after dinner and all the guests have gone home. Hopefully they go home at a reasonable hour. And then fire up the griddle again, which takes 15 minutes or so to warm up and do the cleanup. And I just consider that aggravation. By then, I'm tired, maybe a little over imbibed. And I've watched a movie and I want to go to bed. I don't want to go out and clean up my griddle. Dan is asking if, Max, you've reviewed any of the Yoders.
Well, we have reviewed a few, but these were in the early days. Meathead, we did some untested reviews just based on observations. I have seen them. They are impressive. They're very heavy duty. They come from the big offset smoker DNA. Yoder is known for their offset smokers, heavy, quarter-inch metal, this type of thing, and they jumped in on the pellet smoker thing actually rather early on. It was a bit surprising, and from everything I've seen, they are very good. They're not cheap. They're not beautiful like the Twin Eagles pellet smokers. The stainless steel units. They're like powder coated black. They look like that type of cosmetic look. They actually contacted me recently and were discussing. Well, maybe not discussing. They said, "Would you like us to send you one?" I said, "Yes, of course." But I haven't heard from them either for a little bit, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. Meanwhile, there's no end to all the products that are flying at us these days. So for brands to get stuff in our hands, it doesn't hurt for them to be proactive.
I should
But
explain how we operate so it's really clear and we have some transparency here. Max will look out and see what's hot, what's not, and what's important and what's moving and what people are looking at in the big box stores and what's being talked about online. And he'll then decide, because there's more products than he can get his hands on and test thoroughly. He used to do all our testing, and now he's deputized me and others to help. So he'll reach out and contact manufacturers and ask them if they would like us to review. Usually the answer is yes, and usually they ship promptly. But occasionally they don't, and occasionally they're busy. And in this environment, since COVID, I think, as Max was intimating earlier, we've seen that communication with a lot of these manufacturers has been spotty. I think a lot of them are struggling. I think it's gotten very competitive. During COVID, a lot of people, we saw a big spike in outdoor cooking. Our website got a big spike in traffic, and it tapered off. And I think a lot of companies, we're seeing this in other worlds where companies went out and hired a bunch of people during COVID, and then as COVID retracted, they let them go. So I don't know what's going on in the industry. Max probably has a better idea, but I think it generally there's some what should we call it, realignment going on out there. But in any case, Max, I think we should both agree that Yoder is a hot topic, and if we haven't tested one in a while, maybe we should get one into the machinery.
I would welcome that. I will. They're definitely on my mind. I should mention to add to what you said. Many companies, possibly as an overreaction to the supply chain difficulties during the pandemic, um, are overstocked. Uh, I my understanding is that's they are many companies are getting their inventory levels right, but others may not have done that. And when they're sitting on that, inventory is evil. That's money, sitting in a warehouse somewhere. And if they can't move the stuff and it's getting old, especially because things are so high tech nowadays, if it's that type of a product that has technology on it and it's been sitting in a warehouse for a couple of years, it might be getting passe. But I
Mhm.
speculate. I do know these challenges are real for the manufacturers, and some are doing better than others.
Now, I should add, if there's a product that we think is really important and they don't wish to ship to us for a variety of reasons, and they're entitled, we reserve the right to purchase, and we have,
Hmm.
especially if we think it's an important product. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are some products that we've run into that were conversations of frequency on the internet and that we have purchased so that Max can get in the conversation. And here's an example. Mark Nagy is asking any Franklin reviews. Aaron Franklin is a barbecue Hall of Famer along with me and 35 others. And he owns the Franklin barbecue in Austin, which is highly regarded. And he has come out with a steel offset smoker that is very expensive. It's beautifully designed. And we haven't even asked because we know the answer. He's not going to ship us one, and we don't need to. These offset smokers are pretty much all the same. There are some minor feature differences. There are some, differences in the type of steel, but they don't make a major difference in the quality of the product. And we've reviewed several, and they're just not the type of thing that most of our readers are interested in. Cooking with logs on an offset smoker is really good. I mean, it makes great food. But it requires a great deal of expertise and control. And I think most of our readers much more interested in things like pellet smokers. So we have not done a lot of log burners or stick burners, as they're called. I mean, I've done a few. I've worked with the Lang offsets, which are marvelous. They're reverse flow, but we just are not. We time is limited, money is limited, and we're just not spending a lot of energy on stick burners, and there's no need to. I mean, I'm sure Aaron's is tip top. I'm sure it's as good or better than anything out there because nobody knows log burning like he does. But it can't be a lot different than the others because these are the simplest machines on earth.
Right. These the skill plays an enormous part with operation of those, and Meathead and I always get a chuckle out of when we have a reader that goes, "Oh, these pellet smokers or whatever it is, that's not authentic barbecue." And we go, "Oh well, I suppose then you dig a hole in your backyard and put palm leaves over it and put your food down underneath because these type of people don't recognize the offset smokers are inventions. They haven't been around for thousands of
No,
years.
no, they're only like 20 or 30 years old. They're, they're almost as modern as pellet smokers. So, all right, so
Well, they have been around quite a bit longer now, but the point still being, they didn't grow out of the ground. Somebody invented them and
yeah.
came up with this idea.
And Mark says appropriately, amen to skills. I mean, so much of what I write about is cooking technique. That's the new book I'm writing, Meathead Method. It's all about method. It's all about skill. So I worship that and recognize that. But not everybody is willing to, because these stick burners, you pretty much need to bring a book and a 6-pack or a 12-pack and a lawn chair and just sit by their side and constantly monitor them. And if you're doing them right, even though they're ancient, they're simple designs, you really should be using thermometers to watch them, and so they're less primitive than than you would think with thermometers. So in any case, um, I think we've pretty much covered the questions. Max, I didn't know you can see the reader questions.
Yes, I can.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's cool. I'm still learning this technology here.
Yeah.
I think we've covered most of the questions so far. Mark says pit sitting is an absolute luxury. Yes, Mark, and I agree. I mean, I loved working with my Lang, and in fact, my favorite stick burner is the BBQ, which Max has worked with, and I have too.
Ah,
And
well, but now you talk about the merging of the traditional methods with technology too.
yeah,
Even though by today's standards that wouldn't be considered high tech, but it's a brilliant,
yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
brilliant
yeah.
design.
So, I think we've covered the questions, and we've covered our best new products of the year, unless I missed some. Um, can you tell us about some of the cool things? Why don't you just mishmash the two events together, the Consumer Electronics Show and the National Barbecue Association Show, and tell us about some of the cool things that you've encountered out there that are either coming soon or on the market now, and some trends and things that you've seen.
Okay. Well, as mentioned previously, this was the first year I went to the Consumer Electronics Show, but that just goes to show that this is where we're heading. This is what consumers want. It's understandable. It's easy to realize why this is happening. People want repeatability, they want ease of use. And what happened there was Weber invited me to an event that was the rollout of their 2024 line in Las Vegas. And I thought, well, what else is going on in Las Vegas? The Consumer Electronics Show. I asked them, are you part of this? They had been previously, but they were doing a separate event almost outside of Vegas to roll this stuff out. And they invited people, media from all over the world. It was a wonderful event. But when I found the Consumer Electronics Show was happening at the same week, I said, Meathead, we're in consumer electronics now. We're in that world. And indeed, there were quite a few barbecue and outdoor grilling people. They had a whole food tech category that was represented there. It was really something else. 4,300 exhibitors, over 135,000 attendees. It was sprawled out all over Vegas. So let's start with Weber's event. It was wonderful. Weber does things right. They keep themselves at a high level. And my only gripe was it was very cold. Believe it or not, in Vegas it was cold, and it was a short event as well. But for many years, I have been saying, when are we going to get your new Summit gas grills? Since I've been with Meathead, they have upgraded their gas line several times over the years, except for Summit. So they keep saying it's coming, it's coming. Well, it's here. They upgraded all their Summit models, and now they have a new line that's super high tech, super smart, and it's really something to see. They also are retiring their Smoke Fire pellet grill, which we like quite a bit. I must say, even though there were some problems with the rollout in 2020, I question why they did that, because they just plain weren't ready to be rolled out yet, and they got a lot of flack for it, and left a lot of people sour on the brand. So perhaps that's why they're just going to discontinue Smoke Fire, and they have a whole new line called Searwood, which we have not been able to test yet. They aren't available yet, but they claim that it retains the great performance that we love from Smoke Fire, specifically that not only are they really good smokers, and I'm talking better smokers than many pellet smokers, but they are also fantastic grills, fantastic high temperature grills. When you crank one of these things up, the flames are just roaring at you. It's really fun to grill stuff at high temperatures on that. And they also, as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about griddles, they are rolling out a new line of more high-end, feature-rich slate griddles that do have a pre-conditioned griddle surface. It's already broken in for you, or so they say. And then at the Consumer Electronics Show, also mentioned earlier was the GE Profile Indoor Smoker, which I have right now, and I'm working with it. I couldn't help but think of that Ninja Woodfire Outdoor tabletop unit, and they of course are different in that Ninja didn't recommend you to use this thing indoors because it was spewing smoke all over the place. I've only cooked on it once, and it did not set off any of my alarms through my house. I did a pork butt. As you could imagine, capacity is limited on it. It has three racks, but it's a small chamber basically. It's a small smoke box area. It's not recommended as a multifunction device. I'm sure that you could do other things other than smoke with it because it's an electric oven that has quite a range. But it does have a large pellet hopper in it that takes a fairly large amount of pellets. You can see a lot of smoke inside, and it's sealed off pretty good. But there is a strong exhaust coming out the front in the lower section, which is very hot, I might add as well. I'm a little concerned about that. You could smell the meat, the cooked meat, the roast meat smell throughout my house. However, I think that it was kind of in line with what you'd expect for Thanksgiving Day when you're doing a turkey. You smell that you're cooking things. The only difference is this was an all-night thing. I did a pork butt. I had a 10-pound pork butt. I had to cut away a couple pounds just to make the dang thing fit. And I think it ended up being too much for the smoker. I think it's more comfortable with smaller hunks of meat. Next, I'm going to do ribs. I hope to do that next week. And charbroil really impressed the heck out of me with a new line of electric grills and griddles they have called Current. If you've seen pictures of these things, I don't know why. The pictures don't do them justice. Usually it's the other way around. They get some hotshot photographer to make something look better. These things look beautiful in person, but I still haven't seen any pics of them that really show what they actually look like. The designs are very interesting. They use very few fasteners. Everything hooks together. They have a grill that utilizes their I gotta the name escapes me. It used to be called True Infrared. It has a radiant plate under the cooking grate that actually works as advertised. It reduces convection heat. It amplifies the temperature, so you can really do some serious searing on it. And they also have a version that's a griddle. But the carts come in different configurations, so you can just get a basic open air cart, or you can get enclosed stuff and stuff with extra storage too. I'm really eager to get my hands on that. There was also a kind of unusual device called the Sear Grill that's an indoor tabletop infrared grill that's rather expensive. They said the MSRP is currently at about $3,500 US, but they don't even have them available yet. So let's see what happens. They don't expect to roll them out till later this year. We'll take that as it comes. Then the HPB Expo. Our friends at Green Mountain Grill are finally exhibiting a prototype of their ripped smoker. It's based on their pellet smokers, but instead of wood pellets, it burns wood chips. Now, I had said, can it burn any wood chips? And they said, we're going to be very careful about this. It's not coming out till 2025. They just had a prototype at their booth. They said it theoretically can burn other wood chips, but they have to be very careful what they recommend other than their own brand, which will be made specifically for this smoker. But obviously, they don't want you to be tied into just that. However, they need to ascertain what is possible out there with other wood chips that are currently available. Uni pizza ovens, they're coming out with a new 24-inch wide two-zone pizza oven. It has two burners, one on each side, with separate controls. Rather large, and we'll see about that one. But the one item that really grabbed me, and I had to rush home and tell Meathead about it, and he agreed with me, is Broil King is introducing their IQ gas grills. Now, this technology came from a company that they purchased a decade or more ago that they discontinued. Excuse me. That company was Blue Ember, and they were way ahead of their time with their concepts. They had a lot of digital technology on it. They were smart before smart was smart, I guess you could say. But there were some issues with them. Broil King's been kind of secretly working on this, I think. And they scoff at the use of, from other brands, term smart grill, smart gas grill in particular. They basically say we have the true smart grill because not only does it monitor what's happening in our gas grills, our system actually controls the gas valves. We can change the temperature from your smartphone. We can program recipes with temperature changes on them. And this is groundbreaking, gents and ladies. And once again, as we've said several times this evening, this is where things are going. Franklin will still be around, but the consumer has spoken, and they want ease of use. You know, they want this. They want to be able to control and monitor everything, just like they do in their kitchen now.
That's the point. I mean, this is not an unreasonable request. We have for
No.
many, many years been able to go into our oven, turn it on, set the temperature, set a timer, and walk away. And now these indoor ovens not only are set the temperature, but they're very, very precision. And you can even program them to start at 500, drop to 400. And the outdoor, look, I often say this and people scratch their heads, but they realize I'm right. A grill is just an outdoor oven with a lousy goddamn thermostat. And smokers, same. So, the outdoor cooking space, the outdoor environment, the outdoor lifestyle, the backyard kitchen is evolving, and it's got to catch up with the indoor kitchen. I've said this before, and I've run afoul of female listeners, but I do believe that women have learned to cook in different ways than men and want different things from cooking systems than men. And women would like the outdoor cooking systems to at least be equal to indoor. Otherwise, they're just not going to monkey with it, and so it's a guy thing. But once they become more competent and capable, we're going to see more women outdoors cooking. We're going to see more families outdoor cooking. See kids outdoors cooking. I think this is an evolution that we just cannot avoid. And I applaud it. I would like to be able to go out to my gas grill and set it and forget it and know that it's going to hit a temperature and maybe set it to control so that it starts at one temperature and goes to another temperature, or starts indirect and then goes to direct. That's, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, a lot of it's here, especially with the pellet smokers. They sort of paved the way for a lot of this technology. I know Meathead and I have been crying out for this type of technology to be applied to gas grills, and some have tried. And there are many that call themselves smart grills. I still don't want to poo-poo that term for grills that cannot control the temperature, because SMART originally was an acronym. I wrote it down for self-monitoring, analysis, and reporting technology, which is actually just monitoring and seeing it on a smartphone.
Well, you're smart.
I knows these things, Meathead. But you can't be too smart, right?
Yeah.
One
of the great ironies is that people have always thought of charcoal grills as being a little more aboriginal than gas grills, a little more natural and skill. But charcoal grills have, for years now, had thermostat controllers that, starting with the barbecue guru, which were basically, they're just air controllers. They just control how much oxygen gets to the charcoal, and that controls the temperature. But they work great, and they get better and better. We talked earlier today about the Spider, which I love, and I have one. Why can't the gas grill have a thermostat? And I know there's trickiness because you got 4 burners, and each burner needs its own thermostat. But a few years ago, my indoor GE oven, the thermocouple, which is the probe that controls the thermostat, crapped out. And, instead of calling the repair guy, I had to try to fix it myself. I went online and I found a place that sells parts. And I was able to buy, I think it was $30-40, a replacement for the thermocouple. And it took me 15 minutes. So for $30, got a $15 or a 15-minute repair job. and my oven was back up and running. So if I can control my indoor oven with a $30 device, how hard is it to control a gas grill?
Well, I think one of the issues they've had for all the brands I've talked to is getting certifications for safety from Underwriters Labs, or and also to make sure that these systems will perform dependably outdoors when subjected to different environmental conditions. Um, one manufacturer said to me, "I don't even want to get into that." This was a few years ago. He said, "The more technology you put on your outdoor grill, the more you ask for problems, and then my phone's going to be ringing off the hook with my customers complaining about it." But on the other hand,
Wait a minute.
if you don't move with the time, if you don't respond to what consumers want, your phone's not going to be ringing at all.
I'm old enough, Sonny. I remember when I was a boy.
In my day.
I remember when I was a boy, our car was dying. My dad said, "Let's go buy a new car." And we went out, and he refused to buy a car with electric windows. Had to have a hand crank. He said, "Just more stuff to break and go wrong." And he's right, more stuff to break and go wrong. Find me a car today with a hand crank window.
Yep. Well, you can't stop it. It's here, and it's coming on hard and faster and faster every year. And the reason why is we want this stuff. If you don't want it, that's okay. You can still get a Weber kettle. You can still buy a Franklin offset smoker.
I do more cooking on my Weber kettle. Okay, I got the spider attached to it, but I don't use it all the time. And I got the slow and sear inserted into it, but I don't use it all the time. The goddamn Weber kettle, and it has some flaws. I wish you could raise and lower the charcoal bed, but Max, we're coming up on the 90-minute mark, and we're on a roll. We're doing great, but it's probably time for you to sum up or wrap up. If you got more, keep going. I mean, I'm here for you. But we've had a couple of folks sign off already. You want to throw in some more information about your experiences in Vegas and Nashville? Rock and roll.
All right, I'll try to wrap up here. I did neglect to mention that the Broil King IQ system can achieve lower temperatures like a 225 because it actually can control two-zone setups. It can turn burners on and off. As far as I know, at least they had that type of information up on the walls in their booth. They showed diagrams of different burner configurations and said, "This is what we do with IQ." I get the feeling we're going to be at the Consumer Electronics Show again, Meathead, because as we've said, this is what's happening, I'll add
it to the budget for next year.
Okay, and the Hearth, Patio, and Barbecue Exposition, it was down in the dumps in the pandemic. They just stopped it for a couple of years, and then it slowly was coming back. I talked to quite a few exhibitors in Nashville, and they said they were very happy with the way things are going. They feel like they're getting a good crowd. They feel like it's coming back. So hopefully, but the endless stream of products keeps coming. We can't keep up with it. I'm very grateful for your help and the help of our colleagues to try to make sure we're covering as much as we possibly can. But there's just no way around it. There's a heck of a lot of products out there. People love to barbecue. It escalated during the pandemic for obvious reasons because restaurants were closed down, and now that people know they can make this stuff, you know, they're having fun. They're eating good, and why not?
Well, with all, due respect to our, when we launched this website back around 2004 or so, we were the only ones out there. We were, Google sent anybody who asked anything about barbecue to us. And now we've just got a whole bunch of daddy bloggers and mommy bloggers and guys and gals with blogs and such. But, with all due respect, and here comes a little bit of a commercial, boys and girls, but tell your friends and family if they're looking for information about barbecue and grilling, AmazingRibs.com has more than 2,000 pages of free product reviews, recipes, science, myth busting, valuable information, and a membership portion for $35 a year with 15,000 paid members and more than 80% renewal rate who absolutely are into it and exchanging recipes, exchanging ideas, talking about products and services like we are today. And we don't, nobody can accuse us of accepting bribes or, every day I get, do you accept guest writers? Manufacturers, this is part of, I don't know how many of you understand, manufacturers like Global Grill Company, I hope there's nobody named that. I just made that up. They approach me and say, we'd like to write an article for you about how gas grills work, and we'll give it to you for free. And of course, you know what the article is all about, global grills and how they work. And I get these every single day. The guest columnists, we don't accept them. We won't take them. It's we make a living. It's a bit of a struggle. I still work 7 days, although that's about to end. But you just can't find a better source of information than what we have out there. And I don't have Max on often enough. About once a year, we ought to have you on more often. But look at this guy. Who knows? Look at how much he knows. Look at this is just fantastic stuff. So, in any case, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Max. Do you have any?
Thank you for inviting me.
Do you have any final words or farewells?
Oh, well, I too thank everyone who joined us this evening, and I thank everyone who comes to AmazingRibs.com, and I especially thank the members of our Pitmaster Club, who are really our most dedicated audience, and we certainly appreciate you all. I guess I hate to end on a sour note, but touching on what you just said of some of these people, some of these brands, it just galls me, Meathead, when I go to one of these bloggers or whatever, or even a bona fide or allegedly bona fide website, and you just see an article that's a regurgitated press release from the manufacturer. We do not do that at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
And the manufacturers know that we're going to print something. I'm a nice guy, but if we don't like something, it's going to get printed because we put a lot of work into it, and it is appreciated. I met people from media from all over the world when I was in Vegas, in particular, but also in Nashville at the HPB Expo. And we're starting to get some. I talked to people and said, "Hey, you guys should look to us for a source. You guys in Germany, Britain, Italy, across the United States and Canada." and we're starting to get some nibbles for people from publications that want to reprint our stuff.
But
because of that credibility.
I gotta say, we paid for you to go to Vegas. We paid for your airfare. We paid for your hotel.
Weber would have paid for me to go,
and
but we don't.
Same thing for Nashville. So many of those people that you saw hanging out at the Weber product intro were there because manufacturers pay their way. These are called junkets. And, part of the problem is I'm an old school journalist. I went to journalism school. I wrote for the Chicago Tribune and the Washington Post. You never accept free trips. You never accept payola, bribery. When I used to write for the Chicago Tribune, and I'd go to Italy, and they try to whine. We don't do that. A lot of these people who are out there writing about their experiences, Consumer Electronics Show, are on somebody else's ticket. So, in any case, enough of that. Let's stop. Look at this. Wait a minute. We'll end on this note here. Ford Ranger has hand crank windows.
2005, though, barn.
Oh, it's 2005. Okay. All right, guys. I've been getting a kick. The cartoon Zitz appears in the Chicago Tribune, and the father is talking about his waterbed. Hey, I had a waterbed. The kid doesn't know what a waterbed is. He's never heard of it. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us. We enjoy this. We hope you had a good time, too. Tell your friends to come visit AmazingRibs.com. If you haven't taken our free 30-day trial to the Pitmaster Club, do it. There's all kinds of great info there. We don't ask for a credit card. We won't harass you. You'll find it enjoyable. And there's a really big, cool announcement coming soon about the Pitmaster Club. And I can't say any more. Max, can you hear me?
That's all for now, folks. Thanks for staying awake, and please visit AmazingRibs.com for the articles, recipes, and reviews mentioned in this chat with the Barbecue Whisperer and Hedonism Evangelist from AmazingRibs.com, the planet's biggest and baddest barbecue and grilling website, Meathead.